In today's episode, I sat down with ESU Registrar Sheila Markowitz to discuss the new student requirements form and how it transformed from being multiple paper forms to one efficient form process using OnBase. I'm Dakota, and this is Across Campus. You took 3 existing paper forms and consolidated into one single digital form. Tell us about the new form and how it's improving the university business processes.
The new form, like you said, will encompass 3 separate forms. It changes things because it allows a faculty member, an advisor, to access a form and complete it, route it without having to manually route the form, put it in an envelope, send it across campus, to hand it to a student and ask a student to walk it around campus. Or, we had a lot of instances where the forms would get lost in the mail, or some would disappear on somebody's desk and wouldn't show up again. So it's a dynamic way for faculty and advisors to request for a substitution or a waiver or exemption from a student's requirements and have it routed through the OnBase system. So in situations like we just recently ran into where everybody is working from home, people don't have access to the campus mail like we did before, I think we're looking at more and more of these processes that we need to automate in order to meet students and faculty and advisors where they're at.
And where does this form start at?
So the form would start with the advisor. So whoever that student's advisor would be the one that would initiate the form. The form would then have the student acknowledge it. They don't necessarily, there's not a lot of work on the student's part other than meeting and communicating with their advisor regarding their request. So the advisor initiates it. It would go to the student for the student to acknowledge it, and then it would be routed to the appropriate parties from there. So it would depend on what type of a request it is, whether the request is for a general education substitution or exemption, or if it was a requirement for their major, minor, or concentration, or if it's a university requirement. So the routing would change depending on what type of request it is.
There are certainly security considerations with the paper forms. Can you elaborate on how this new process eliminates those concerns?
Certainly. So with different forms, at times it asked for the student to produce or the advisor to send a copy of the student's transcript with it. We eliminated that a while back, but we still have some advisors who feel compelled to send that. And we really don't think, it's really not appropriate for a student's transcript to be mailed around campus in an envelope and sitting out on someone's desk. So the new form doesn't actually require them to produce the transcript, but it does ask for them to upload the syllabus. So if I'm wanting to substitute one course for another course, the department may want to see the syllabus of that course to make sure that the content of the course is meeting the requirements in the required course. So it does have the ability to upload documents to the request. A lot of times with the university requirement, they ask for, or a lot of students and advisors feel compelled to write a letter and explaining the student's situation, why they're asking for this adjustment, and it would allow them to upload that document as well.
It sounds like the overall impact of these forms can go as broad as the student's degree. Could you explain that?
Sure. So just some examples of exemptions and substitutions and would be one for the major requirement, another one on the university requirement. Right now, it's June, and we're at the end of awarding our May degrees. And typically the only people that haven't gotten their degree awarded yet are those students who might have missing requirements. So it could be that missing requirement is one that they need an adjustment on. So right now we're trying to track down advisors and say, hey, we're still missing this class for this student in order for us to award their degree. And they're having to scramble around and find the form, fill it out, get the right approvals, and get it sent to us. So by having this electronic, it would be an easy way for them to go out, pull up the form, fill it in, and submit it, and it would route to the appropriate people. And that next person in line would get an email saying, hey, you have a request sitting in your queue, you need to go out and take care of it. They can take care of it, and then it gets routed to the next person. So I feel like and getting it in an electronic format will allow the end person, which is in our office, it would either be myself or Tammy McAvoy, who works with the degree analysis. It would allow us, at the point when we receive that form electronically, it would be an easier way for us just to go ahead and process that. We'd have to go in, make the adjustment, say it's complete, and then it's done. So it'll be a quicker turnaround for students and advisors to see that adjustment actually show up on their degree audit. And it would be a quicker turnaround for the students to see that as well. So I think in the long run, it's going to allow us fewer issues when it comes time to award degrees.
And so just as much as the impact on the students, what is the impact on the advisors?
So I think I'm hoping that advisors will see it as an extremely positive thing. Every time I turn around, I have someone telling me, gosh, it'd sure be nice if we could make that form electronic. It'd sure be nice if we could find another way to do this process. So I think advisors will see a lot of value in this. It'll be less paperwork that they have to keep track of. It could be, once they fill it out and click the button, it's off their desk. It's routed to the next person. We have the capability in our office to track it. So if it doesn't show up on somebody's, like it's not processed in a week, it would allow us to go back out into the system and we can track that form and see maybe where it's hung up. Maybe the student isn't checking their student email and they haven't acknowledged it yet. I feel like it's really going to alleviate some of the burden that advisors have on constantly having to keep checking, tracking, going back and rechecking. Did this one get done? Has it been approved? I think it's going to alleviate some of that burden that a lot of advisors have.
Yeah, it sounds like the form is going to offer a lot of new, really good possibilities along with it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm hoping it will be well received. Yeah. And I'm hoping if there's any, glitches in the form, any wishes, like that says, I'm looking at it from my standpoint. We had enough people involved to develop the form, but of course, your first product is not always your finished product. So I'm hoping that advisors will take the opportunity, if there's something they would like to see on the form or an enhancement, that they would let us know, and we can work with the staff to make that enhancement as well.
Wrapping up, that is actually all I think that I have for you today. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with the students or faculty about the new form?
So the only thing I'm like I said, I'm asking for, some feedback. If there's some glitches in it, make sure you let us know. There's only so much testing and checking we can do before we push something out. And we have pulled down the old forms on Form Central. So we're pushing everybody to this new form, and I'm hoping that they'll embrace it, that they will take the opportunity to utilize it. I think it's going to be a great asset for them. And like I said, I think they're going to see a quicker turnaround in on the timeliness of those requests getting processed. So where it is the only thing is that they do have to, as the advisors don't, but the chairs will have to check their emails a little bit more and go out into the queues and approve those forms as required. So that would be the only adjustment on their part that they would have to make. Instead of signing a form, they would just have to go out into the system and access the form and click whether they approve it or not. I'm hoping it's simple, and we're open for feedback and suggestions. So
it sounds like you guys have made a lot of really good progress on that. That's going to be exciting for them.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great process, and I feel like it's what the majority of our advisors are asking for. So I'm excited to see the cooperation and coordination between the chair of Gen Ed, our office, and the IT staff on developing it.
Absolutely.
I'm very appreciative. Yeah.
Thank you for sitting down with us today, Sheila. Great work to you and your team for all of your accomplishments.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Dakota.
With Sheila and her team's new forms, students can now take control of their degree with the tips of their fingers. That is all we have for you this week. I'm Dakota, and thank you for tuning into this episode of Across Campus.